Alex Garland's 2023 Civil War actually released to cinemas in 2024. It's a dystopian future where a civil war rages across America and a group of journalists are struggling to reach the White House before the president is ousted or worse. It has a running time of 1 hour and 48 minutes, an aspect ratio of 1.85 to 1 and comes with Dolby Atmos sound. There are extras on the Blu-ray in this pack. There's a 6-part making of, which I watched the first part, about 14 minutes, and the 6th final part, about 10 minutes. That was quite interesting, but I can only take so much of how brilliant everyone is on all these making ofs. I don't think this is quite that bad, but that was all I've watched so far. There's also a Q&A with the director and cast, and I haven't watched any of that. So there are plenty of other things to get your teeth into if you are really enamoured with Civil War. It had an estimated budget of $50 million and grossed to the worldwide box office $127 million. It appears to have been shot entirely in digital video at 6K. There may have been some 8K in there, but I haven't been able to find confirmation of that. But the image quality is beautiful and the sound is equally impressive. So there is much to like about this disc, even if you don't particularly like the film. And judging by some of the comments when I featured this in a recent purchases video where I included some other discs I purchased, some people really don't like this film. Others really do like it, so it does divide opinion. I can see why. There's some bad language in there, plenty of bad language at times, and it's brutal. Some of the behaviour from the troops really isn't what you would expect of Americans in real life, but who knows what would happen if things got really bad and there was a civil war. But it's a bit of a fantasy in that regard, so don't take it too seriously perhaps. But I think it does help to know these journalists want to get to the White House with the opposing Western forces who are looking to oust the president. It can feel a bit too surreal at times, but it's got a good atmosphere, this one. Apocalypse Now is obviously a major influence. This really is Apocalypse Now. Just swap the boat for the... Is it a car? Is it a truck? I don't know. It's like a big Land Rover, that sort of thing. So they're travelling something like 820, 850 miles from New York in a roundabout way to get to Washington. And it's their struggle to get there to hopefully get a final interview with the president before he is removed from office. So it helps to know that. It would have helped me if I'd have known, but I always like to go into these completely blind. The basic synopsis is on the back, but I don't even tend to read those very often, and when I do, I quickly forget them anyway. But I found it interesting, that Apocalypse Now sort of theme going through it, and some of the music that accompanied some of these sort of scenes where it was just like Apocalypse Now. But there's also other influences in there. I could see The Walking Dead, and that's easy to see because there's one sequence with a dual carriageway, a motorway, whatever you call it in America, is completely filled up with burned out or shot up vehicles, abandoned vehicles. That's very much like an early scene of The Walking Dead, and both filmed in the Atlanta area, so maybe there was definite influences there, but whatever. It's basically a road trip movie with a bit of a difference. While I was watching it, I wasn't too sure what I was thinking about it. The opening, I think they filmed this in sequence. I think that was one of the things Kirsten Dunst says in one of those 2 extras I looked at. They filmed it in sequence, and early on I didn't feel the characters were being entirely convincing, and like a lot of young girls, young ladies, they tend to growl these days when they speak, as though they're nervous or they're shy and they can't open their throat and speak properly. And I thought, oh, these people are going to get on my nerves a bit, but that quickly went and I soon got into it, and I did enjoy the characters. I could understand them. By the end of the film, when the credits rolled, or the movie as I should call it, as it was shot entirely on digital video, I thought, that was a much better movie than I was thinking whilst I was watching it. I found it to be an intelligent film. Okay, it's quite ridiculous. I can't see any way this is ever going to happen in modern America, but here it is, and I just felt I enjoyed that a lot more than I realised I was whilst I was watching it. This happens quite often nowadays when I'm watching 4K discs at home, or any disc at home, and I think a lot of that is to do with having this YouTube channel. I'm analysing these films, and so I'm perhaps looking looking at them a little differently. But the upshot is, I think this is very good. Not everyone is going to agree with that. Other opinions are available, as always, but I enjoyed it. I think it's a much better movie than I thought whilst watching it. I think this one was good enough to have been the scope frame. It's just a shame it's the 185:1, because the 2.40:1, 2.35:1 would have been so much more impressive in here and in cinemas, those cinemas that are suitably equipped to actually show scope in the wider format and not just reduce the height, which I think that's ridiculous that cinemas are doing that. How we've gone downhill, degraded cinemas in more recent years. But the sound is fantastic. It's got those breaks where it goes into Apocalypse Now format and you've just got surreal music to imagery, but it helps set the scene. Yes, there's some depravity, some really bad language, which I suppose it's a war thing. People are going to be behaving slightly different, somewhat out of the box, I suppose, given what is going on. But overall, I thought this was very good. Not the best film you're ever going to see, but I think it's worth a look. And in the 2 for £30 deal at HMV, who could argue with that? Right, the Blu-ray. After you watch the 4K, you put the Blu-ray on, and immediately you can see the colours are different. They're just not right. The greens of the grass are just horrible green, and in here it looks like real grass. So the colours of people's clothing and other things, the reds are just the wrong red. So that's wrong on it. The density of the Blu-ray is wrong, and basically what you're looking at here, even though in isolation you think this is excellent and why would you want anything else or need anything else, you look at the 4K and you think that's effectively a film opposed to a video. So if you're thinking about getting this one, you're in the UK, have a look for it in that 2 for £30 deal in HMV or anywhere else you can find it. I got this in HMV Swindon. It was the last one they had on their shelves and it was hiding away downstairs. So fortunately, I had the good sense this time to grab it, take it upstairs, look around for one that might have been in a better condition, cellophane or something, but there wasn't one. This was one I ended up getting. It's taken me quite a while to get around to watching it, but my wife and I had a great time in here with this. We both liked it, think it's an intelligent film, maybe a bit too cerebral for some when you're expecting some shoot-'em-up Civil War type usual nonsense that you get in these sort of films, but nothing of the case. Quite a lot to get your teeth into in this one. Right, I don't know what I'm going to review next. I'd like to get a copy of Gladiator 2, but I've neglected to do so up to now, but we'll see. The Pianist might be coming off the shelf next in 4K. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a like, perhaps subscribe if you haven't already, and until the next video, bye bye for now.